Oh. Greetings, family. This is Terry Riggs, Mr. Riggs in the house. And today we have something very special for you. It's very, very special. We have a special guest, one of our honorables from Ghana. And I always like to honor and to ask our elders in forms of presentation for Our Majesty to able to present himself and to explain where he's from and and what precise tribe you are. Peace and blessings, family. Please press share, like, and subscribe. So, Our Majesty, can you please give your name and what you're about?
Yeah, my name is His Royal Majesty Nene Tete Ayiku Abodono IV, from the state of Adan, the leader of the Kabiawechu people of Adan, Ghana, West Africa.
Okay, so in the names of the tribes the tribe you're from, could you give us some details of the tribe and the foundation of the tribe?
Yeah, actually, the Adan state is in the Greater Accra region of Ghana, the eastern part, and we are close to the ocean, Atlantic Ocean, and where Adan is geographically placed is where we have the confluence of the Volta and the Atlantic Ocean meeting. Very beautiful place, a tourist attraction. Mm-hmm. And the people of Adan, from historical background, came right from Israel, Middle East, them days, and they made the journey down to West Africa. And we, the people of Adan, are noted with a very rich culture. And that culture came down from the Middle East, and which we strongly adhere to up till this time. So in a nutshell, we speak the language called Dandi. And from historical context, this Dangme came from, according to history, Dan, I think the fifth child of Jacob, and we and the Gans, and the Ga is the seventh child of Jacob. So Gan Adangme, we are the people that occupied the capital city of Ghana, Accra.
Okay. I just wanted to know, in some of the tribes, because they say the Ga people are kind of related to what we say the Yoruba people in many ways. What is your experience and understanding of it?
Yes, the Yorubas and the Gans, Gan Adangmes, have that dual relationship. Which in the biblical context talk about Jacob and Esau, Cain and Abel, that relationship, Muhammad and Christ, that dual relationship has existed. And, biblical history, ancient history shows that the Yoruba tribe, they occupied the Mecca area, and the Gans and Adangmes, the Israel area, and they had that collaboration in trade and commerce. And when the Assyrians were really behind us, we have to move. So the Yorubas and the Gan Adangmes they made these journeys. So we, the Gan Adangmes, settled in Ile-Ife. Then from Ile-Ife, we journeyed to where we are now in Ghana, which was then called the Gold Coast. Yeah.
Okay. So the language itself. What was the language that you lot, the Ga people speak? Because sometimes I hear some of the Yoruba lingua in between it. But what would you call your the language that the Ga
the Ga speaks Ga.
Mm-hmm.
The language is Ga, and the Adan speaks Dangme. That's why the tribe is called Ga Adangme.
Ga Adangme.
Okay. It's all emanated from ancient Egypt. So even in Adan, we have the River Volta. As I told you, having the confluence with the Atlantic Ocean, and we the Adans call that river Jo. When we met it, we call Jo, and the Jo came from the River Jordan. That's why we gave the name Jo. So
yeah, because I was just going to ask, before we have someone that's coming, Dean Oki, in understanding the people in the state we are in today, in that environment, I just want to go into how your family became put you on the throne and how you was chosen to becoming king.
All right. Actually, basically, the Kabiawechu people, we were the warriors, the ancient warriors, that really led the fight to secure the Adan state. So we, the Kabiawechu people, were given the mandate to install the king, the overall king over the Adan people. So, because of our ancestors, their bravery and their worth, that gave us that power. So it moves. It's royalty. You sit on the throne. When you live or you're dead, then they install another one from the clan. So, originally, our clan, our royal house is called the Okansi Royal House. Yeah. We, the Okansis, really financially and ideologically started the independence of Ghana. So the first independence of Ghana was held in Adan, in a place called Accra House. And we, brought the first newspaper, the Okansi family, into the Gold Coast. And we brought Nnamdi Azikiwe from Nigeria and Wallace Johnson from Sierra Leone to head the Evening Post. And we, the Okansis, brought the first movies, theaters into Ghana. And most of the deliberations with the Big Sis, the people who got independence for Ghana were called the Big Sis. Between Britain and Ghana, going back and forth to negotiate for the independence of Ghana, we took a very vital role in that. And even we were instrumental in bringing Kwame Nkrumah, founding Kwame Nkrumah back to the Gold Coast to fight for the independence of Ghana.
So, in for you to from where you are becoming king yourself, how did they choose you to becoming that king?
Yeah, actually, that aspect of it is really spiritual. Okay, it's spiritual. Yeah, we believe, and we have people who can look into the seed of time and tell the grains that will grow and that will not, which is the African way. Now we don't people reject that because of Christianity, but it's the African way. And when they look into the seed of time and they see that the star is shining on this particular person, he's a person who will be a royal blood, and who is in the line. They look at the person that spiritually is fit, because you are like a spiritual head to the state, and they put that title on you.
Okay. Because I wanted to speak, because a lot of people, there's always say, oh, they see all this gold and they don't understand how come they put so much gold on themselves in crown. But what is the significance of gold itself, or especially when the king is wearing that amount of gold?
Yeah, actually, when it comes to Ghana, we wear a lot of gold because Ghana was called Gold Coast. Yeah, when the Europeans came first to Ghana, they pick gold at our shores, and up to now, we are one of the leading gold producers of the world. So Ghana is noted with gold, and to show your royalship and the power and strength back in the stool on which you sit on, you have to display gold. So gold is our symbol, of royalship.
So is it in the African traditions, the Akan people, they have many symbols. Does the Gar people have certain symbols to represent things of the past or present, or some forms of philosophy?
Yes, most of the symbols you see were ancient symbols. Yeah, we have research and we have books that shows some of the meanings of those symbols. Those symbols, even with ancient Israel, the Middle East, even Moses, them have all those symbols, and we had it before the Bible even came to us. So who are we? Even some part of the Bible, you see our name like Tema, Adide, Kabul, all in the Bible. So we didn't bring the Bible. It was brought to us later, but we have all these names. So the symbols we have are ancient symbols that great men of integrity use for wars and all those things, battles and all those things. So we have those symbols. We will never depart from them because they have meanings. Yeah.
Okay. So for now, what I was saying is the people. How is the state of your region? How are they surviving, and what is happening in forms of understanding African growth?
Yeah, actually, when we talk about African growth, there is a lot of work to be done. by the African.
Mhm.
Okay, because the African child has lost its integrity. Why? Because we are not going back to history to know who we are. And if we know who we are, then we can tap to where we are going. Saying that, I mean, we, the children of Africa, should go back to Black history. We should know what happened in the Valley of Nile when the prototype of automobile, computer, and all those civilizations were first put on parchment papers. Until an era when the Roman Empire came upon the civilization of Egypt, and everything was taken and locked under lock in Vatican. So when we talk about technology, where we call the commies, then it's a guy named called the Comema. Yes, the land of the commies. That was where computer and all these things were built, automobile, everything. All the prototypes were taken from us. So if we will go back into history, into the annals of history, and find out how we lost those things and how those things were built by Black people, then we'll know how important we are and how we lost the civilization and how we can go back and pick our civilization. So Black people are not inferior. And per your question relating to Adam, we are trying as the monarchs now to revive African unity. Because for us to move forward as Black people, Africa must unite. Then we can pull our resources together. And when we pull our resources together, one currency, one passport, one continental language, then we can trade with the other civilizations. So it starts from somewhere. And always in times like this, God he will bring a Moses to lead us to the promised land. So we are in a time that we have to arise and change the course of civilization.
Okay. So in your travels, because I know you've been traveling quite a lot and you've been going from place to place, like for instance, when you did come to the UK, you went to the Jamaican embassy and you went to certain few other places. You went to Birmingham. How did you able to what was your mission, put it that way, into interacting with the African diaspora? Because there is a thing of what the African diaspora are doing and what the African people are doing, but in able to infusing them together, what kind of things would you say that you are trying to put forward or trying to do while you're going on your travels?
Yeah, actually, at this point, you remember the last year was the 400 years of slavery, and the president of Ghana instituted the royal return. Okay, the royal return is for people of the diaspora to visit Africa, because the information given about Africa indicates that it is a very jungle that nobody would like to go. And I tell you, which is a wrong picture, the painting about Africa. Africa is not like that. So now the picture has been painted to a point that even the people in the diaspora don't want to interact with Africa. Some are like corruption in Africa. Every time corruption. But when we talk about the West, there's a lot of corruption going on than you think is in Africa. It's the West who make Africa corrupt. We should know that. So now, talking about bringing people from the diaspora to link with Africa in terms of commerce, in terms of agriculture, in terms of technology, in terms of development as a whole. You know, we have to, the president of Ghana institute the return so that people at the diaspora will travel to Africa and see for themselves what is going on there. And there they will make their own decision, whether to collaborate with Africa and change things happening in Africa. So most of my travels has been that. We even installed one of the leading businessmen into the Okansi family as a developmental king in Africa last year. And we are, if not of the coronavirus, we are to do a lot with most superstars in America. Yeah, this year, but we might move it to next year.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce another person that's just come in, and he's galvanizing the African diaspora. Please introduce yourself, my brother.
Kwaba, Your Majesty, and so I am Dino Senior, the founder of ADPAC, which is the African Diaspora Political Action Committee. We are a national organization who are galvanized to plug into the ADDI and the African diaspora region and work with dignitaries, chiefs, and national directors such as yourself. What we do is bring all of the technology people together. So we have a cryptocurrency on its own blockchain that can be delivered throughout the continent and throughout the diaspora, which actually ring fences our economic security, which we don't have currently because our currencies are pegged to European commodities that can be manipulated by the financial money makers at the moment, as has been the case when they crash our economies. So what we are also is a lobbying and advocacy organization in the vein of APAC, the US-Israeli lobby. However, for the African diaspora. Now, more than just being a national organization, our intention is to increase intra-African trade through the entire diaspora. So in terms of what we seek to bring to the continent, what we want to do is deliver blockchain technology on the continent where we have the expertise to deliver, and also all of the digital tools such as a digital ID, which we already have, irrespective of whether we acknowledge it or not. It's just not owned by us. So a digital ID on our own blockchain, which is literally why I'm late, and my apologies incidentally, is because I just came off of a Zoom call with my colleague Daryl Speaks from Sable Ascent Coin and my brother Otis, who's my counterpart in the UK, where we were talking about security of the coin delivery and the listing in the various exchanges it is in now, and along with Visa, and the rollout for adoption by businesses, and then you get the exponential adoption of consumers, and then we know once we get the consumers, we get the exponential adoption on the continent because of the remittances. So now via the remittances, we remove the middlemen, the money transfer people, because we have the ability to do that just by transferring from wallet to wallet. So we remove the exorbitant fees that they charge us for the continent and Caribbean, and we simplify the process, but also in having the blockchain and being able to establish digital IDs, what we do is establish our ability to act as sovereigns globally, where we can't be turned off by Europeans and the masters of the universe. In effect, we become custodians, African custodians, in the positions of the masters of the universe to protect our African sovereignty and make us a globally protected people, which at current we're not. We're the easiest people to target, as we've seen with what the Chinese have done.
That's true.
And to be fair, Indians, and everybody else. Just before in closing, I'll say that where world economists have come to the hypothesis that half of the planet will be not only African, but Africans under the age of 25 by 2050. What we desire to do is bring sustainable employment to the continent, and we envisage those to be the digital businesses. So one of our objectives is to build out an African operating system for mobile phones, just as China did, which will go across mobile devices and our desktop computers and laptops. What that does, also in enacting with the blockchain, is deliver us communication and economic security. It provides potential of limitless employment for African diasporans who are producing apps to engage with that operating system at the same time. Now, what we want to do is establish the tech universities on the continent. My personal passion starting with Ghana, so that we are training in the correct way to engage with those platforms and create employment at the correct levels that goes across every single industry, including education and every other trade. In a nutshell, sir.
Oh, that's laudable.
Okay. So as we're talking about the African diaspora, and that's the kind of the business aspect of things as well. I was speaking to you earlier, and we was talking about the children and how we can able to engage both sides of the waters of our children to able to engage by having some form of self-development, which, as I told you before, what we call Manhood Academy and Womanhood Academy, into creating an exchange program for the youth in able to engage with you in the forms of the children in Ghana able to come to the children in the UK, and the UK children coming to Ghana, and vice versa in the States and around the world. What I was trying to do is to create that kind of exchange program into creating and giving them that history, as well as working as a form of the system, as in forms of business, and to keep the interrelationship between both. But from asking from you is what kind of things are you doing to able to bring in that the two back together?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, what we are trying to do, like Dean said, what we are trying to do now is to build an entrepreneurial development center, okay, to train kids, the youth, for the future, and also build a leadership training center for Africa to recruit the best brains to come and study leadership in Ghana, regardless of where you are, so far as you are a Black person. And we're talking about the best brains all over the continent, to have like a master's and doctorate programs in leadership. And we'll liaise with the presidents, individual presidents of the continent, so that these young people, when they go back, they put them into government. Because the philosophies of Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, Haile Selassie, Bob Marley, all those philosophies have to be studied. Then we inculcate it in our African culture, so that the Africanism that we are losing will come back. Because are you guys there?
Yeah,
yes,
there.
sir.
Yes, long before the Europeans came, we had institutions institutions, that even our institutions, when you sit down now to analyze them, since I came to the throne, I started analyzing our institutions. They are so rich. Our forms of government. Talk about the forms of government the Ghanaians have, the Yorubas have, the South Africans. We have real institutions that now, because of democracy and all those things, we've pushed them to the background. But my dream is if we will have an institution that will train the youth for leadership and push them into governments. In the future, for Africa to unite, it will not be difficult because we need ideology push and let them study the Black history, who we are. You know, the problem with us, Black people, is that, especially in the diaspora, it's like a tree without roots. And when there is a tree without roots, the tree will never flourish. So it's time we go back to our roots to plant our trees. Then the black man will flourish. Yeah. So now, like Dean was saying, those are the technologies we need now in Africa. In an entrepreneurial development center that will start teaching them, the youth, how to take care of how we bring all this currency together. And now is a time for us to bring governments of Africa together in summits to talk about new economic system for Africa, new agriculture system for Africa, new constitutional system for Africa. Those are the things we should be talking about now, because all the ones we've tried has failed us.
Absolutely.
So now we have to come together and organize seminars and bring the learned people together and talk to them how we can change the mindset of the African. Thank you.
110%, sir. So, Your Majesty, what I would say to you is that we also have an organization which is around economics, employment, and entrepreneurial training called Access UK, which was founded by my brother Nana Ajiman. His father passed very recently. So in delivering out leadership training, which we have a program and we have funded leadership programs, even in the United Kingdom, we have something for young men. Once they finished the rites of passage at 18, which is 18 to 24, called the Manage program, which is a very structured leadership program to create pathways into different industries where they will receive mentors afterwards, but also where they would enter a society which is a Garvey society, where you have the alumni and brotherhood from that Garvey society who will help each other as units of 10 on a regular basis. Now, we want to work very closely with Terry and yourself, Access UK and ADPAC, to actually put this international exchange in place, which is a very powerful leadership exchange, because not only do you have the Africans coming here and those from Holland, Germany, France, Sweden, it becomes a complete international exchange, but also around the curriculum of delivery leadership that is being delivered as well. So we already have
I think he's frozen for a bit.
A bit, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll speak on some of
funded
that.
program.
Okay, he's back. Is he back? Okay, when he comes back. But yeah, as I was saying, in the forms of the Manhood Academy and what we do with what he does is that we start from the 8-year-olds and able to grow from the 8-year-olds to the teens. Are you there, Dean?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because you was cutting in and out. So finish.
No, I saw it. I froze.
Yeah.
So just very quickly to pick up from Terry's point, rites of passage should be universally adopted.
That's right.
You froze again.
By all I think, and that was the end of tax year.
Or freezing.
Because somebody had around engagement.
It's freezing.
That
I think you have to get into a position, Dean.
our community gives us if me talk and you let me know when I'm freezing.
Yeah.
It gives us a high cultural self-esteem and the best potential to establish an African lens. We know that leadership are sent overseas to develop a European lens and then come home and have no apathy for their own people. So immediately as you have a man who is seeking to steal from his nation, plant that wealth in Europe, which can be frozen and confiscated with no accountability, those who confiscate and take that money, is become a ridiculous and
You're frozen again. Will he be back?
situation.
Yes, family. If you can please share, like, and subscribe. This is an important day, a big day. Make sure you share this link to everybody so that they can hear and listen to what is happening. Dean, you're freezing quite a bit. If you can speak, try and see if you can speak again. It's freezing again.
It's freezing, yeah.
Okay, here we're back. So going back into the dialogue and understanding the Manhood Academy, where we're looking for patrons and ambassadors and people to represent the Manhood Academy in the fact that whatever we push the narrative of the kings and queens, as well as we push even some of the celebrities or scholars into being the mothers and the fathers of the foundation of it, so that it gives us the credibility of drawing in the children and making sure that the children get the right self-development so that we're able to pushing them forward. So by opening up the exchange program across Africa in forms of opening up an academy or doing an academy program in a village or in a city, it gives the people to have in the exchange. And then at the same time, it brings volunteers. So if the children and the volunteers come, they can even help within the villages or the community. So they build a family relationship amongst each other. So if we're able to do that and able to put that even in the States, we put that in the Caribbean, we put that in South America, we put that in Europe, and we put that in Africa, then we're able to have that network back and forth with different people in different tribes. And then the African diaspora were now able to have a better understanding, and African people will have a better understanding of each other in that forms of bonding.
Yeah, like what you're saying is very true. And it has something to do with the return of the royals. Actually, what we're trying to do before the COVID-19 came in was trying to bring people from the diaspora and give them families in Africa. Somewhere that anytime they come to Africa, they can go as their family, associate them with those families. Even those who want citizenship in Ghana want to do that. And we're starting in Ghana so we can spread it to Nigeria and all other countries in Africa. You understand? So we are speaking the same language, and I want us to synergy and pull our resources together and do that, because that will help us to bring people from the diaspora to know what is really happening in Africa, and not the stories they tell about kangaroos and lions roaming everywhere. No, that's not it. Yes.
In your experiences with, your experiences between the government and the royal families, what kind of experiences have you got from the government? Because as we know, we were colonized by the Europeans, and they've given us certain ways of their ways, and which we've applied within our government system, which it's not really on the royal side of things, because we don't deal things the way they do. What are the hurdles or the difficulties that you have found since you've been crowned as king?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of hurdles.
Yeah.
But I believe that it takes one person to change a civilization. Yeah, because I always say something, that the politicians were not there when they came to colonize us. When they took our brothers and sisters from us, they ripped them from us. We, the royals, we were there when all these things happened. And there is an adage in Africa that where the place you climb the tree from to the top, that same place, when you are descending, you pass the same place. So I think it's now for the royals to be involved in changing things, because the political systems the West brought to us has never helped us. It has never worked. It has failed us woefully. And now I'm thinking of we collaborating with the various governments and putting the royals into the affairs of the African Union to lobby and talk about Africa development and African unity. So it's an uphill battle that we're going to fight together, because the interests behind is too great. But we have to do it. We have to change the course of civilization, because so far it has never helped the Africans. It has never helped us. So I have been talking to people that matters, that the royals have to be placed in the political system to talk about these exchanges without bias, so that Africa will start talking about unity. Because like Dean was saying, we need that currency that we use as a continental currency, because our currencies as individual states are worthless. So this is the time for us to create something that we can depend on to change this old system we have.
Dean, are you back now?
You might be able to hear my voice. I can see that my camera isn't showing. In any case, I will make a contribution in any way that I can. What you're saying is completely accurate. Look, Ambassador Arikana has been saying exactly the same thing.
Thank you.
There are many minds now, and there is a will within the diaspora of people who've worked in corporate industry, project managers, technical people, to come together and work on singular projects for a singular successful outcome. Now, what we understand is that we're all bound by the same potential fate. Racism precludes us from taking full part in any of the societies that we live. Now, there's economic racism that takes part from the banks, where we are demonized to a degree, and there is a burden of proof put upon us even to move our own funds, which is ridiculous. We don't have any economic security. It's also very hard for us to set up trade relationships with the continent, because then there's even further demonization through racism in that taking part. So in the first instance, we have developed out the technology, and is now just about the adoption of said technology and currency for us to take on board. There is that skepticism amongst us that whenever Africans produce something, it must be inferior. Now, with the coin that we have and the ability to deliver out a blockchain on the continent, which would enable us to even supersede where Western countries are currently in having to deliver out 6G and start again from scratch, Britain is starting again from scratch with its telecommunications, which is why we are all inside, and they call it essential work, that workmen are building out G5 infrastructures right now. Now, if we skip right to the blockchain, our communication systems will far exceed what even they have in the West right now. And we have the ability to do that based on limited delivery programs that are in the continent at the moment. And especially where corrupt leadership have given cartels to singular companies like AT&T, and the fact that you would have only had Visa operating on the ground in the country legally, it doesn't protect choice. There's no democratic process. And what we want to do is just circumvent all of these restrictions that have been created by ineffective leadership and deliver out exactly what people deserve, based on a blue ocean strategy of interconnecting not only the entire continent of 1.3 billion people, but the entire diaspora of 1.5 billion people digitally, being able to deliver out a digital ID which is protected, irrespective of what Western companies like Google and Facebook seek to do in shutting us down and our voices internationally. Once we have our own structures, our own operating system, all we require is the delivery partners on the ground. So we have the digital systems, we have leadership programs, even in terms of bringing the rites of passage, like Terry said, and you to a socio-economic platform like the London School of Economics. We have a diaspora economic season that we're going to deliver at the London School of Economics. And we're quite to invite you down to speak on that podium in terms of how the continent wishes to liaise with the diaspora and bring that expertise home. A reverse brain drain, which has been a long time in coming, because we know that the opportunities that are presented, which are economic and social in their remit, far exceed what we're capable of doing in the West.
Great.
Yeah. So in the things that, like, for instance, King, the things that you're doing in the States, what kind of things are you doing within the community of United States itself?
Yeah, in the United States now, what we are working on seriously is to get people, that the movers and shakers, to Africa, put them into families that they can effect change in those families. So that's what we are working on now. Though the royal returns was last year, 400 years, which we call the providential time identity. 40 Muhammad, 40 days and 40 nights. Now the number for Jesus Christ, 40 days and 40 nights. And now the black, we are 400 years, the number 4. So this is the time for us to effect change in history. So in a nutshell, from now onwards, the royal returns continues, and it will continue bringing people from the diaspora planting them into various African families, and so that the people in the diaspora will know how Africa is and how Africa operates, and the energies and the good things they have in the diaspora will be moved into the African system. And with that, we can effect the necessary changes we are looking for. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
So okay, there's a lot of people out here that are asking this question, in that if they go to Ghana, what is in place for them to able to bring their creativity or their business or whatever contributions? Because as the African system is, some people, they're very hungry. They see somebody with money, they try to capitalize on them and not realizing what's going on. So then it leaves someone that's coming back home with a bad taste. What kind of things can we say we can put in place for that not to able to happen?
Yes, as we are talking now, we are now about to set the organizations we are starting from Ghana, then we spread it all over Africa. These organizations, which I ask you guys to be part of, that receives people from the diaspora, and program them into the system, and we'll have laid down regulations that telling the people that come in not to do things haphazard, but they have to pass through the organization so that nobody will be bent and have a bad feeling. Yes. So with time, when they come to know the people, then they can take charge of themselves. But initially, we have to guide them into the African system.
Beautiful. So you see, now we are talking about delivering out systems. And systems must be cultural in their remit, because we're all obligated to uphold, promote, and preserve our culture, or we're nothing. And there are many ideas about people coming from the outside and creating these gated communities with walls as high as Donald Trump perceives you have between Mexico and the States. And it's the wrong idea. It's about the integration and bringing our skill sets. So what you are saying brings me to the mindset of two sets of colleagues who, one, are in an African country which, just based on security, I can't divulge, because we understand that we have adversaries that can scupper the progress of what we're doing. But they have actually established a sovereign jurisdiction within this country where they are delivering out a town hall which has a trust, not only for sovereigns as people, but the trust is managing the mineral rights of many chieftains and kings in this particular country. Now, what that has created is a combined wealth based on the geological studies. It's not necessary to rape the ground anymore, because the wealth is within the geological studies. Now, all they do is create a bond through their bank and then release the liquidity of that through the cryptocurrency. So now, just like the Yiddish SWIFT system, they are producing money from thin air. Now, these are the kind of people that we want to bring together with those who can deliver it on the ground in Ghana, so that we have these different systems from thin air, exactly as they do, so that we don't have to rape the ground, so that we don't have to exploit the people, but we can experience the wealth of our true assets, the gold, the diamonds, the bauxite, the timber, and everything else, which underpins the value of the trust, which is released for a bond and made in liquidity through the coin. So those are definitely conversations that we want to have. And since you're in the States, my brother Daryl Speaks, the CEO of Stable Ascent Coin, has just last week got a contract with the National Black Chambers of commerce in the States, which represents over 1 million businesses in the United States.
Okay.
So there are a lot of shortcuts that have been taken in plugging directly into work that's been done already. So it's a very fortuitous time for all of us that we're connected by our brother, our own Secret Service, Mr. Terry Riggs, that brings us together on a regular basis to plug into these organizations. Because again, what you can do is in creating those genuine digital identity, you can utilize a system that exists and plug and play tomorrow. And immediately you are hitting the ground running. And then introducing the cultural remit we actually desire and require to move forward, because we don't have it. And then what you do starts to impact events that we have here. It starts to impact the lens that we have here. And that is the most important thing, because we are going through the greatest global reset that has ever happened in the history of mankind.
That's true.
Now, if we aren't resetting as Africans, we are missing the trick. If we're sitting at home and waiting for them to say it's okay to come outside now and engage with our system, we're going to enter that system, which is what they reset it for, which is serfs and landowners. Now, we aren't the landowners in the equation. We're the serfs based on who we are. If we desire to remain sovereign in global police state legislation, which has been adopted by all Western nations, with police drones with facial recognition software, so that we've now in a dystopian future and a police state, whether we're aware or not, we can't protect ourselves. So it is a merging of spirit, culture, technology, and action that Africa has always needed, to a degree, for Killmonger to return home, but with empathy and the love of his people, to protect his people and put out hand in hand. This is where we find ourselves now, or this is the opportunity that presents itself now.
Okay, great.
So our role isn't necessarily to come and ask what you can do for us, but how we can work hand in hand and make each other safe.
That's
what
right.
it's like, I always see it. We give up as much as we are willing to risk. So as two men on a cliff's face, supported by one rope and equal distribution of weight, it behooves both of us to behave ourselves. Because if one lets go of the rope, we both can.
That's
and at this stage, we understand that China, Russia, the United Kingdom, the US, and everybody else is waiting to carve up the cake. But if we establish these infrastructures based on this unique opportunity that we're presented with, Africa will become the superpower that China wished they were. There is nothing to limit us making drone technology to protect our borders. There is nothing precluding us from creating magnetic pulse weapons that could take out a whole air base, making them completely useless. So when we think in these innovative ways and we start to build out the systems based on the collaboration of the diaspora in the West and those in the continent, nobody has a greater potential for success than us.
That's true.
And also we understand that those intelligence services that are everywhere else need to be on the continent in a collected and joined up way. And these are the things that protect us, not relying on other people's eyes in the sky, but on our own.
That's
not
right.
relying on other people's intelligence or military peacekeeping forces, but on our own. We have no end of manpower. So we don't need anybody else's military services on the ground. We merely need to develop our military manufacturing capabilities on the ground. So the potential of our military can actually protect our borders from enemies, internal and external.
So, yeah. So with this said, I think very soon we should start planning a leadership and an economic summit in one of the African countries to pull most of the leaders on economics, presidents together, so we can talk.
Definitely. So saying that, and in somebody like yourself creating the platform, a conversation I just came off the phone with my brotherhood earlier was about quantifying the number that it would take to transport Africans out of abject poverty. Now we look at it in this way, that China over the course of 20 years transferred 350 million people out of abject poverty into middle class.
That's right.
And 300 million people out of abject poverty into working poverty. Now, if we establish the same models for ourselves, then we start thinking about the rollout of that remit and put it into milestones and project delivery. And then we're identifying the personnel that need to come in, all of the various organizations, what resources we have on the ground in terms of assets that the earth produces, how we can create liquidity out of them in the simplest forms, and just bring the greatest minds to the table to then design that project and the rollout of that project in the most efficient way in the shortest period of time.
Yeah, that's true. You see, the models are there. Terry, you're on mute.
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. You see, there are some of the models there that, as you are saying, we can pick things from it. You know, when Deng Xiaoping was leading China, and then China was extremely communist, he pushed for China becoming a capital socialist state. Okay, and with that has transformed China within a short time, not even 100 years, within a short time. And in China, there is one elite university, like we are talking about the Leadership Training Center for Africa. There's an elite university that recruits all the best brains there. And when, after training them, they put them into governments. You know, so you've been ideologically, you've been trained, you've been polished to lead.
Yes.
If your leadership is in engineering, they train you. They train you as you are trained already as an engineer, but they put leadership skills to the engineering. If you are an economist, they train you as an economist, but for you to lead the economist, you know, those are some of the things we have to inculcate in Africa. Then when we inculcate things in Africa like that, you will see the mindset will start changing. And what we need seriously in Africa is TV, television, and television stations that we can control, and radio stations.
Yes.
A cable network that will give messages, trying to change the mindset. You know, going into past histories of Africa that has been neglected, that has been suppressed. We have to bring them out so that people will know that the Black people around the world will know that we are not inferior after all. All these things they are enjoying was created by us. So why can't we take leadership of this thing? Let's come out of that dark age and take leadership. Black people are not inferior. We are very intelligent people. We are very intelligent people. And we have to come up. So I really appreciate your initiative, guys.
Absolutely. And yours equally.
Yeah, let's work together. We'll get there.
As I like to say, we're already delivery partners. It just hasn't happened yet.
That's
because
right.
As we talk across all of the areas, media, we have the TV platforms who have the ability to build 4K studios. I have a delivery partner that I will speak to you offline who has an MOU to build an autonomous city in Ghana, who is raising $1 billion for that project through the coin. Wow. So I'm going to introduce you directly. Now, he's already built 2 schools in Ghana The last school that he built was a 500 student school.
Wow.
And it has a manufacturing plant next door so that the school is self-sustaining from the profits of the manufacturing plant. So this is a gentleman who made his first million at 23, very shrewd man, very humble, and definitely the kind of delivery partner that you're looking for. And as we close the skills and knowledge gaps with partners of this ilk, I think very quickly it would be, we would establish the infrastructures that we're talking about, like tech and leadership colleges. So you have those who are technically proficient, but in a leadership where you are also talking about the acumen of the person that you're inducting into the school. These are the Bill Gates. These are, but with the virtuous lens for Africa and Africans, because Justin even mentioning that man's name, we understand the beauty of the ground and the land. They just desire to have it with our Africans. We are Africans. We will not allow that to take place. So we are obligated to deliver the infrastructures, not only to educate us, not only to create leadership, but also to protect it, because we have to grow our security at the same rate that we grow our wealth and our influence. Because if you can't protect yourself, and that comes down to intelligence, it comes down to digital intelligence, intelligence agency, and also private security, because the private security sector has been undervalued on the continent. When we look at what shadow government does in the United States with organizations like Blackwater, we understand that even our own governments aren't serving our interests necessarily, but the people, irrespective of the intentions of government or the shortcomings of government, must be protected by a force which is there to keep Africa for Africans.
That's right. That's right. That's right. A place that all Black people call their home. That's what we want to do. That's right.
Yeah, if there's anyone in the comment section who would like to ask questions, please put your questions in, and we can able to answer your questions. As I was saying, like before, in the facts of in that, okay, a lot of people have been asking how they're able to connect to the families if they wanted to come there. What would be the procedures of doing so?
Yeah, we're setting up the organization now that and the website that everybody can go and then register. Then when you register, all the provisions will be made in Ghana, which I want all of us to do together.
Absolutely.
All the provisions will be made in Ghana or wherever Africa country you want to go. But actually, for us to control it, we want to start in Ghana, then gradually we expand it to other African countries. Yeah.
And then you have that relationship with the kings and queens as well.
Oh, so absolutely. That one.
And that is one of the things that we're trying to plan to do, because it's kind of stopped us this year, but hopefully next year we're trying to bring all the kings and queens, because they will be the portholes. Even when it comes to the youth, they'll be the porthole of where each country they're going to go to. So by the kings coming to the UK, because remember the UK is the middle, the mother, the core part. So by coming there, then people are able to galvanize and say, okay, I want to go to Ghana, I want to go to Nigeria, but they have a kingship that they can go to and say, you know what, this is what we want to do, because we've got the teachers, we've got the engineers. It's about building. And if we're able to build, then we can make these things manifest. Even in the factors of even doing the rites of passage for the kids. Because when they come over there and do their rites of passage, they're not only coming to help the people in the village, they're going to learn from the people of the village. And a better, more insight than what they see on telly, because they're now going to see the reality of it.
Absolutely.
That's
that
true.
is something that we need to be able to do and to put that on ground. So in looking at that, Dean, in your forms of your CEO program, I want you to tell him about a little insight, because like as we transfer from the Manhood Academy and we put them into these programs, I just want you to give him a kind of an insight, because they're between the rites of passage and at the same time going through your program. So I just want to give you a little insight.
Yeah. Of your program. So this is another hat with my brother Nana Ajiman, which is Access UK, who deliver out employment training and positioning for our young people specifically. So we've got a program called Road CEO, which we're building an app, which is hundreds of hours of successful African diasporan entrepreneurs, giving you compartmentalized every area of business acumen expertise. We all know that YouTube is the greatest university on earth, but you have to eat the chicken and spit out the bones. Who knows what is bone? When you're a young man, you might get a bone stuck in your throat. This is all chicken breast, the whole thing. So it might be personnel management, marketing, digital marketing, accounting, negotiation skills, the soft transferable skills as well, problem solving, just in being able to identify how to leverage situations. So all of those areas of business acumen delivered in one app with hundreds of hours of video, but then also in the classroom situation where you get the one-to-one and
He's gone again.
group that investors can be quite confident to put their money into. Now, if we're delivering this as a culture within an entrepreneurial curriculum, and we also
Dean, you're cutting out once again. Dean, can you hear me? Okay. So while we're waiting on Dean for a little bit, please press that like, share button, share this information amongst your family, your friends, and so ever, so that we can get this information out as soon as possible, because it's something that we are trying to create and to build. Because as you know, this is the UK, USA, Ghana link up. So we need to open up the doors and able to build from this into making this a reality. We have to make this thing manifest to its real truth. By us doing so, it's getting us as far as possible. There was a question asked, how might one get involved in the business community? Is there a chamber of commerce and equivalence? Dean, could you answer that?
Well, absolutely. What we have in APAC is a trade and industry department headed by Yvonne Witter. So what we're quite happy to do, in the absence of any infrastructures that are in place on the ground in Ghana and working with the King, we're quite happy to.
Oops. It's one of them days. The internet is refusing for us to get the information out.
Yeah. They know where we're going.
Yeah. Okay, he's back. Hold on, just let it log in, and he's back. Okay. Yes, Dean, you're back now.
My this is murder. And you know, the security forces are with me. So
by hook or crook.
What our back end will do is offer the King any web developing services to
It's one of them days. Yeah, we rely on the internet so much. Dean. He's freezing once again. Please share, like, and subscribe. Please press this like button as much as possible, because we need to get this word out as we wait again for Dean. But I was just going to ask, in forms of the kids of the village, and what kind of things there's some people that may want to volunteer and come to Ghana. What kind of things could you say they could do when they want to go out there?
Okay. You know what? Let me correct this concept. Let's not use village for Africa.
Yes.
Africa is developed. And when the Europeans fight their tribal wars, they call it World War. And when we deal, we call it tribes, and we call it villages. You know? So let us promote the Africa the way we want it to be. All right. So
exactly.
Yeah, there are great royal monarchies before the Europeans came. So let's promote it. Our kingships have been dropped to chiefs. They give us name to demonize our positions and our royalties. Whilst in actual fact, all those things, they came to study from us. So, yeah, they came to study all these things from us. So, in a nutshell, Dean, you were saying something. Finish, then we go ahead.
Yeah. Dean?
He's not in.
He's not in.
Yeah. Actually, Terry. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to create a chamber of commerce in Ghana now that will use that as a conduit to the people. I'm trying to create a chamber of commerce now in Ghana that we can use it as a conduit.
Have it
as a conduit.
You have it.
Yeah, so that we can. We can. Yeah, it's in the formative stages, and I mean the COVID-19 disturbed us a little bit. It should have been moving now, so we can connect that to Dean's organization. Then we can deliver to the people.
And also, US African Chambers of Commerce. So
that's right.
You see, the key is that we link this internationally, because the mandate is to increase the intra-African trade, which currently, annually, intra-African trade lies at 18%, which is the most ridiculous figure, considering that we shouldn't have any precursors between us. However, we do understand that the various banking laws and regulations of the SWIFT system, things about transactions and transparency, which is why we want to deliver out our own sovereign platforms, so that we don't need to ask the other people's permission about how we do trade, as they come in and take that other 82% is quite ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
That other nations can come and take 82% of trade and leave us with 18% of trade. It makes no sense. So now what we try to do is create the blue ocean space, utilizing technology and laying down systems, and also cultural practices, which just precludes anybody else entering the picture to create that blue ocean space. What we want to deliver via blockchain technology is the Uber of increasing intra-African trade. Remember, Uber didn't buy any stock whatsoever. They just built a spectacular backend. And that is exactly what we're bringing to deliver, so that we can connect the most successful African diasporans on the planet, so that we're using singular vehicles that protect us create our economic and communication security, and increase our ability to trade amongst ourselves. When we do that, we're not going to lose an Idris who worked for Google and Facebook in creating certain AI for them that should have been created for Africa. It's bizarre that it took for a gentleman like Nipsey Hussle to get hold of him before we even realized that this man's family had made it all the way from Ghana to LA to put all these things in place for Twitter, Facebook, and Google, and we didn't even know that he existed. There are many Idrises that we have in the world because the brain drain has gone the wrong way.
That's true.
It is time to bring it back home to our own platform. But in who we've been amassing and creating the refining process as well. So at this stage, I'm very comfortable 4 years into our journey that we have the correct personnel. Now, I'm not just talking about their technical proficiency, but also the lens that they have and their intention and the pureness of that intention as Pan-Africanists.
That's right.
This is what we're dealing with.
That's right.
To build up what we're talking about. Because as much as people might say, oh, you're a businessman, I'm not a capitalist. The free market has always existed. We've always traded shells for goods, services, clothes, and food. However, that wasn't about exploitation. It was about having a commodity to actually trade and understand that there is a means and measurement of trade and exchange. So the free market has always existed. What we want to do is create an African free market that is democratic, that anybody with the acumen and capability to make money shouldn't be precluded from that marketplace by any permission of Europeans or any other bureaucrat, but be able to jump straight into that marketplace and trade freely, which is the nature of a free market.
Great.
Yeah.
So any tools that you don't have, sir, we are happy to speak with our technical teams and build those out and start the relationship. We're very happy.
Okay, may I ask a question? Dean, this is your question. Yes. Is there a way we can form the UK or the European Union, US, Africa Chamber of Commerce registered in Ghana?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's an offline conversation, but the answer is as simple as absolutely.
All right. Okay, so I'll start working.
And we have all of the delivery partners in place.
I'll start working on that to put a headquarters in Ghana for that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
and then even down to the bricks and mortar of creating a standalone building which is self-sufficient off-grid. One of our partners is a chartered surveyor who has been working on the most technologically advanced processes to create self-sustaining and clean buildings. So from A to Z, we will introduce you to delivery partners.
All right. So with the question in place now, what organizations in the US will be recommended to facilitate communication in Ghana? So the answer is we'll create the Chamber of Commerce. So that will facilitate business in Ghana. Okay.
So immediately we have a coin. We have a relationship with the African American Chambers of Commerce, which represents over 1 million businesses. So you understand, just in terms of supply from Ghana and being able to create manufacturing districts, we can replace exactly what China has done.
That's right.
And even in Britain, because Britain and Ghana have this new trade relationship where there are 0 tariffs on import and export, is such a beautiful relationship now that anywhere in Africa, Ghana becomes the conduit to deliver that.
That's right.
Where Africa is letting down borders, so that the nature of Ghana becomes a very central and necessary country, even to deal with Britain, which is a conduit to Europe. Okay. So we're dealing with some very powerful concepts in us all coming together and delivering out that Chambers of Commerce for Ghana.
All right. Mr. Smith is asking a question, and Dean, that's your terrain.
Can we set up something to send money to villages? Absolutely. So the wallet that is in the Symbolism coin effectively is just like sending a text and receiving cash. So the same way you would through PayPal or anybody else. And they become a key remit where there are no more permission.
He's going again.
Because directly to the continent. So now we are our own masters of the universe in being able to circumvent Europeans and the borders that they've created between us and the challenges they've created between us, in that we now deal face to face and have the technology to deliver it out.
Okay. All right. What question? There was another question. What is it? Let me close the. I'm in the conversation. Loving that. If there's any more questions that you would like to ask, you know, as we are coming close to the end of the show, please ask them as much as possible. If there's something you would like to say, King, and if there's something else that you would like to say, Dean,
Yes, sir.
please say so while we have the opportunity of the general public listening in. And you know, they might say some powerful words from the both of you, you know, so we can keep this and keep this growing as much as possible. So please press the like, share, and subscribe. Share amongst your family, your friends, and everybody, because this is powerful and this is something that is really needed while we're in this pandemic that we are in at the moment. So we need to able to contact and interact. As the one thing I've always learned is spirituality is communication. The more we communicate, the more we are connected as becoming one people. So doing so, is there any questions? There will be a physical meeting. Yes, there will be a physical meeting, but this will be probably planning towards next year, because you know, as they're trying to keep us in as much as possible for the rest of the year, you know. But as soon as the doors open, the planes fly in, there'll be something that will be put together to able to making this manifest, because we're not just talking, we're doing the work behind the scenes. So we need every single African diasporan and African people on land to put in the work. Join up, whatever organization you feel that you can work towards. Make sure you go to it, make you invest in it, and let's collaborate as one, not a singular. So,
absolutely,
King, if there's something you would like to say to the people, what would it be?
Yeah, first I give thanks to the Creator and the ancestors for making this possible, because the ancestors are waiting for us and they've set up the resources for us spiritually for us to operate. And we are just vehicles that they are using. And I always tell people that God will give you 95%, but the 5% is your responsibility to act. And if you don't act, then in our circumstance, posterity will never forgive us. You see, I tell every Black person that you are the power now, because they've put us in a situation that will act to change the course of civilization. So if we stay stagnant and we don't change the course of civilization, posterity will never forgive us. So people listening to us now, I'll tell you, any resources and any power or anything you have, material, mental, whatever it is, put it into this so that we'll change the Africa. So we Black people in America, as they call us African Americans, we'll tell them we have a home to go. This is not just your home. We in the UK will have a home to always go. Africans in the Caribbean, wherever it is, you have a home to go. So I tell you, let's put our resources together. And with the blessing of the Creator and our ancestors, it will be possible. Africa must unite.
Okay.
Ashe. Absolutely, I concur. So in closing, first I'd like to thank you, Mr. Riggs and Black Ice TV for hosting us. To His Majesty and definitely our ancestors for presenting this unique opportunity to bring us all together. As soon as we are out of COVID-19 restrictions, we will be putting the economic African diaspora season together at the London School of Economics. And we will definitely host His Majesty on the platform with economists as well to talk about, to galvanize. And what we would do is invite down 10 African student unions and provide that as a live cast in HD. Right. So we've already created that format. We already have the relationship. We already have the use of the biggest lecture hall. And then it would just be a case of us expediting the process. What we will also do is offer all of our technical expertise across the various aspects of ADPAC, including health, and some doctors, even down to the mobile hospital units, which are like £140,000, which is a lorry, a juggernaut lorry, which has an operating theatre and a waiting room for 6 seats, because they can go into the rural areas for delivery, including delivering sanitized operations. So none of these things are as expensive as we think. So in all ways, we're now delivery partners. When we speak offline, we are going to assist you with everything you need. How that plays out for the viewers is that we now have a direct conduit from the United Kingdom to straight to Ghana. And what we are all interested in is about returning. And we have to say it out loud without being knocked. So we're all scared about our economic security, and we want to know if we're purchasing land, we're purchasing land once. So we have the recommended legal expertise to work on the other side. And as we have a singular union to create that process, we know that on this side, you have the correct personnel. On the opposite side, you have the correct personnel. There's full transparency in all of the vehicles. Even through the coin, we actually have an escrow where you don't have to hand off money to anybody. It's held in stasis, just like any banking escrow, so that through the blockchain, it has to be signed off on both ends. So nobody can actually run off with money. So we create the full security that our people deserve and desire on the ground in returning from the cold to the continent. And we can't wait to start getting this delivered out. So ADPAC is looking forward. Access UK is looking forward. My brother Nana was in Ghana 3 months ago, and I know his mind was awash with ideas to deliver educationally and in terms of employment. So that is the conduit vehicle, Access UK, between industry and education to deliver out the sustainable employment opportunities, which largely will lie in the digital domain.
Okay. So, King, before I even forget, you know, I always ask our elders, our kingships, our queens to be a body for one of our academies. And we're asking you, as I've presented it to you before, would you accept to be in one of our bodies for the Manhood and Womanhood Academy, for us to able to establish it in Ghana as well as in the UK and in America? Would you accept?
I do.
Thank you, sir. And I'm well appreciated for you to be one of our biggest ambassadors and father to our academy. Okay. So people, I want you to share, love, and like this video. Make sure you get it to your family, get it to the children, because this is archives. This is a legacy. Because for us to even get us at this opportunity to able to provide in something, and us being at home to able to receive in this. This is something very powerful. It's something we can never forget. This is the beginning of a foundation before we move forward to where we need to be. So we have this legacy. And you can always say, I was there. So, you know what? As I was saying to the king, just stay there so we can speak after the show. As you know, people, we need to talk business behind the scenes because not everything will be on the YouTube.
Okay.
I love you, family. Keep on sharing, keep on subscribing, and keep on liking. Tomorrow we've got a special guest. Wednesday we've got one of our elders from the United States called Brother Kaba. Tomorrow on Thursday we've got music and entertainment for you, so you can have a little bit of relaxing and entertained by music. Friday we have a special guest for the Manhood Academy, and then on Sunday we have the Women's Session, which we call the International Sisters Circle. So please subscribe, share it around, and pay attention to what is being given. Peace, love, and harmony. Stay black, live black, see black, deliver black, shop black, and you shall succeed in your life. So family, peace and blessings. And we are out.
Beautiful, sir.